Human smuggling is a condemnable act that leaves a devastating impact on individual victims. In recent months, human smugglers in Syria have become more active on the social media platform TikTok to promote their services, which include travelling without borders in luxurious cars that quickly pass past the military checkpoints, dotting the mountain highway connecting Damascus and Beirut. Since al-Assad started turning on his people 11 years ago, a calamity for human rights has been playing out in public. The issue is that no one is sure if the TikTok users posing as displaced Syrians are real. Some of the truths we are about to uncover will make your blood run cold. Welcome to the Incredible channel, the best investigative mini-documentary channel on the planet. Make sure to drop this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Without further delay, let's dive right into the horrific reality of being a Syrian refugee. To overcome life's challenges and issues and lead a decent life away from the violence in their nation, many young people from Syria have been driven to seek refuge in countries outside their home country, such as Turkey or Europe, due to the deteriorating security, economic and living conditions there. Even though it's a severe crime and against the law, people smuggling frequently occurs in Syria, whether it be within the country or to neighbouring nations where different authorities have control. The smugglers employ various strategies to publicise their business, such as publishing TikTok videos and placing adverts in Facebook groups that urge people, particularly young people, to immediately begin their asylum journey while portraying it as a fun ride. Ahmed al-Hamidi, a smuggler in northwestern Syria, told Al Monitor, "I used to place Facebook ads in Facebook groups, but many tried to stop me from convincing potential customers, saying that I was lying about the risks involved in the smuggling operation or mentioning that another smuggler would help them enter Turkey at a lower price. This prompted me to resort to another way to promote my activity. I recently started posting 15-second videos on TikTok, the best platform to promote our work. I created these videos carefully, using a special shot and motivational background audio that is catchy for the younger generation and lifts their spirits." Ahmed Fairs, an e-marketing professional in Turkey, told Al Monitor that the fast-moving content on TikTok, especially among the youth, and the platform's lack of a transparent content review methodology and a way to limit the spread of harmful content. He feared that the number of users was enormous, pushing the smugglers to take advantage of these weaknesses to achieve significant financial benefits by persuading young people to migrate. According to him, local media outlets need to run awareness campaigns on the risks of human smuggling and the danger TikTok poses, particularly to young people. He also suggested that to counter the harmful content and alter the young viewers' perceptions, deliberate content aimed at this group must also be promoted. Approximately 5.5 million of the nearly 6.6 million people who the Syrian conflict has internally displaced since 2011 have sought asylum in nearby nations like Turkey, Lebanon, Jordan and Iraq, according to the UNHCR data. Lebanon, home to approximately 850,000 refugees, has recently tightened its entry requirements for Syrians, who must meet specific needs to be granted a temporary visa. The smuggling firm told OCCRP reporters that a direct passage from Damascus to Beirut would cost $250. The smuggler noted that the service was offered to people wanted for military conscription or those in the reserve forces, but not to those who abandoned the military or members of the opposition. Let's have a closer look at the situation in Syria. While more than 4 million Syrian refugees are in neighbouring countries, more Syrians have started applying for asylum abroad in recent months. Since 2011, there have been about 429,000 applications from Syrians in Europe. UNHCR has identified 7 critical causes for this, based on regular monitoring and assessments, surveys, focus groups, and everyday interactions with refugees in Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, and Iraq. Instead of people leaving Syria directly, the information obtained here primarily applies to Syrians living as refugees. Many refugees' hope is waning, as the Syrian crisis enters its 5th year with no indication of an end. Depressing circumstances and uncertainty about the future feed feelings of hopelessness and desperation. Chronic financing constraints in the region have hampered aid programs for refugees and host communities. Since only 41% of the 2015 Interagency Syria Regional Refugee and Resilience Plan has been financed, thousands of refugees have seen access to their food assistance cut, forcing those who do receive it to make do on 45 cents to 50 cents per day. The WFP food aid cuts, according to several refugees in Jordan who spoke with UNHCR, were the final straw in their decision to leave the nation. According to estimates, millions of people have left their homes since the Syrian conflict began. With images of bodies lying on the coastlines and hostile foreigners seeking to breach Europe's security frontiers, this tragedy caused a state of emergency throughout Europe. These pictures frequently go with stories about needy people who drug traffickers have duped. According to these tales, the human smuggling networks, mafia-like gangs of hardened and selfish criminals committed to the systematic deceit and conning of migrants, are ultimately to blame for this tragedy. However, policymakers frequently ignore the internal dynamics of people smuggling because they lack an awareness of the link between smugglers and migrants. Smugglers are often the only choice for people who must escape an imminently dangerous or distressing circumstance. However, these factors alone cannot account for the tenacity and sturdiness of the relationships between migrants, asylum seekers, and smugglers. Instead, they must be considered for their desperate need to find refuge and their difficulty in using legitimate transportation channels. We need to explore the moral economy of smuggling rather than categorise smugglers as careless businessmen to comprehend this intricacy. Smugglers sought and frequently achieved moral legitimacy by balancing long-held beliefs in morality and religious obligations with the realities of engaging in what is commonly considered a criminal activity. This is a far cry from the stereotype of reckless criminals motivated simply by profit. Nearly all smuggler activity took place in Turkey. The vast majority of people surveyed claim to have come from the remote regions close to the Turkish ports of Izmir and Bodrum. Smugglers arrange transportation here. One will even take you on a private excursion from Beirut to Greece, the critical European entry point, for about $3,000. One Al-Khal Travels account, seen by OCCRP on February the 3rd, offered travel to Beirut from locations under the control of the regime, like Homs, for $150, as well as from areas under the power of the opposition, like Afrin in the north near the Turkish border, for $800. The human smugglers are using TikTok, a top-rated app, to entice the refugees who want to escape the war-affected area. There are many exciting advertisements to lure people. One advertisement for the site, popular amongst youngsters and accessed by more than 800 million people globally, boasts that our credibility is the key to our success. The activity is claimed to be within the law to prospective clients, particularly those sought by the regime. One video shows a group of fancy cars speeding down the mountain route that forms the Lebanese-Syrian border. One depicts a driver who looks to be dressed in military fatigues with the words, "From Homs to Beirut and back." In another, a soldier can be seen giving a car the salute as it drives past what looks to be a checkpoint going to the border. A third features a cargo ship in the middle of the ocean while promoting travel to Greece from Beirut. It was impossible to contact the Syrian army for comment. An official spokesperson for the firm claims that TikTok has since banned the account. The active report also provides travel to Turkey and Greece, two essential stopovers for people travelling to Europe in search of asylum from war and persecution. The same account also includes a video of people stumbling with luggage along a gravel road and says that customers can pay after arrival. Another video from the smugglers, who identify as the kings of the military road, was published late last month. In it, they offer civilian clients who wish to flee Syria a lower fee than those who are wanted by the regime. These TikTok accounts promote charges drastically less than smugglers' charges to travel through the mountains or other unauthorised routes. The service boasts flexibility in terms of pickup places and ways. Displaced families in Syria broadcast live on TikTok, pleading with viewers to give them virtual presence. Still, a recent BBC investigation revealed that the social media platform is profiting from the practice. One of the most frequently heard requests by Syrian children and their parents on TikTok live streams is for viewers to please like, please share, please gift, to encourage them to make virtual donations that can be later converted to cash. TikTok users require at least 1,000 followers to go live. Once they do, other users can reward producers for the content they enjoy with digital presents. The gifts, which range in price from cosmos and lions, which costs around $500, to roses and hearts, which cost less than $1, are purchased with actual money. Hamid Al-Aoula, a well-known TikTok middleman in one of the refugee camps in Syria, sold all of his possessions to pay for a phone and support families streaming live on the app using his phone and internet connection. According to the research, Chinese agencies are assisting TikTok intermediaries in exchange for a portion of the revenue generated by the value of gifts. These businesses, hired by the platform to assist TikTokers in monetizing their live streams, are a growing component of TikTok's overall business plan. Because there aren't many jobs and choices for employment in the camps for Syrian refugees, people are increasingly pleading on the platform for help with their finances out of desperation and poverty. Human smugglers are luring children to cross borders, endangering their lives by taking advantage of the precarious situation. Platform accountability specialists think the corporation and those agencies collaborating with TikTok should be held accountable for profiting at the expense of children rather than placing the blame on those families. In its 2019 report on human trafficking in Syria, the US Department of State outlined the foundation for stopping the cycle of exploitation. The first step is to identify the issue as swiftly as possible, place the victims, then make the Syrian government responsible for its contribution to the problem. The investigation also found that victims should not be held accountable for any crimes they may have committed. The last hurdle to guaranteeing that human traffic is a thing of the past is for all traffickers to undergo protection. Syrian authorities have not yet implemented any of these measures. The fact that there are no official laws against human trafficking in Syria contributes significantly to the problem. This makes it challenging to identify both victims and offenders. The Syrian government does not attempt to distinguish between victims of human trafficking and actual criminals while punishing offenders. It penalises people for crimes they would not willingly commit far too frequently. Given the status of the civil war and the government's silence on the issue, it is simple for human trafficking victims in Syria to slip through the cracks. TikTok's principles specify that they forbid actions that perpetuate the abuse, harm, endangerment, or exploitation of minors on the platform. Therefore, it is their job to uphold human rights and ensure that their services are not utilised to violate them. Children who appear in live streams run the risk of serious harm. These might range in severity. The main hazard is the potential for child trafficking, with commercial exploitation being the most common form. TikTok declined to specify how much it collects from gifts in response to the BBC, but noted that these films are not permitted on their platform and that they were extremely worried by the research findings. All accounts have now been suspended, and TikTok is about to stop allowing users under 18 to live stream. Make sure to let us know your thoughts down below. Subscribe to the channel as a sacrifice to the gods of the algorithm. Thanks for watching.